There was an era where Stacey Dash was known as the most hated woman in America, which was pretty dramatic. What a dramatic title. When I say she said some problematic things, I mean she said a lot of things that rubbed people the wrong way, but it was her own views, her take. And there's a lot of things personally I didn't agree with, because we have people like even Vivica A. Fox that really was shady to her for being a Republican,
Another Black actress who got a lot of backlash this year for becoming political, Stacey Dash. Do you think that the backlash she received was fair? And what's your take on her stance for coming out for Romney?
I didn't know that she was a Republican. I will start there. Second, I don't know why she had to do a photo shoot in a Baywatch red swimsuit with the boobs and the whole flag behind her. And she doesn't have a job or something to promote right now. I just didn't get it. So, to each his own, and she's entitled to her opinion. But it was just surprising that she, first of all, was a Republican and that she did it the way that she did. Most politicians, when you support them, you try to support them with class. You don't need to do a swimsuit shoot. So that's just my take on it.
Now, before I tackle the whole issue on this, I do want to say a disclaimer that I am not neither Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, none of that. I do not subscribe to politics because my philosophy is the right wing, the left wing, they're all part of the same bird, okay? I don't believe in the system. I think they all work together, and you don't really have a political party. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Your voice does not matter. And I know a lot of people may not agree with that in the comments, but this is why this video is so important that I want to do it, because people should be entitled to their own opinion. Now, there's a lot that I am privy to knowing, and I understand there's a lot that I still don't know. We're all learning and growing in this life, but from what I see and from what I know in the industries that I have been privy to, I just know you guys really don't have much of a say. So they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of your vote. Okay? Please do not be naive to believe that. That's just my opinion. So I say this disclaimer to say that this is not conservative, liberal, Democrat, independent Korean speaking, because I subscribe to Jesus. I don't subscribe to politics at all, not one bit. This is just a conversation. Should people be canceled because of their views that you may not agree with? I think at the time, Stacey Dash, as we saw Vivica Fox, and I mean, Stacey Dash was really, really canceled. Not just like, she was labeled the most hated woman in America. White people hated her, Black people hated her, Hispanic people hated her, and she really got canceled. She wasn't getting gigs or jobs anymore. She went to jail. She had issues.
Actress Stacey Dash pleaded not guilty to domestic battery charges.
Police arrested the clueless actress on Sunday following a domestic dispute in Pasco County. Entertainment Tonight's Kelty Knight has more from Los Angeles.
Elliot and Ruta Bay, we are now learning about the fiscal problems facing Stacey Dash and her so-called marital dispute blown out of proportion.
Am I being arrested?
I'll explain it to you in a second, okay? I'm just detaining you for right now.
Just 3 days ago, law enforcement body cam footage showed the clueless star under arrest and being taken into custody after allegedly getting violent with her stepdaughter and husband. Now, in newly obtained court documents, Dash entered a not guilty plea to a domestic battery charge and was appointed a public defender after declaring she is unable to afford a lawyer.
Do you feel like Hollywood has turned its back on you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They've ostracized me.
What do you do for work?
I'm an actress.
Any,
I'm
like-
a film called Clueless.
Okay.
Yeah, she just was going through it. She was going through it. And there was a time, anytime you'd see a post of her on social media or a video, it was just a whole bunch of hate in the comments to where they just made her look like schizophrenic, crazy. She was really canceled bad for her political views, for views that seem rather tamed. Now, in the days that we're living in, there's people with even more extreme views that, her views are rather tamed for the time, but it seemed like the media had an agenda and a definite hate for her. And I just want to revisit a lot of those because she did speak about just Hollywood dropping her, letting her go. And now her life has changed. Despite all the hate that she got, her life has changed to it. She has found Jesus, and she's just been healing because she went through a lot of trauma in her childhood, which we're going to cover in this video, and just went through a lot, period, in her healing journey. it's just been a journey for real. I do want to ask this question. Should people be canceled for their views? I do not think that's educated at all, because throughout history, yes, there's views you don't have to agree with. You don't have to. There are views that is problematic, and yeah, you put an end to it. You march, you peacefully protest, or whatever that you have to do, because that's what has happened through history. But in the same token, we cannot force people to think like us. And when they don't think like us, we punish them for it if they're not causing us literal harm. That's my understanding. But I'm open to seeing what you guys think in the comments. How do you guys see it? And should she have lost her career for that? Because a lot of people thought like Stacey Dash, but they just weren't public with it. And she just came out and publicly said what she wanted to. It was an era also around that time where you really could not have an opinion. Y'all remember cancel culture, right? Cancel culture was in full effect. People lost their whole livelihoods. You could not disagree with the status quo at all. You could not have a voice or an opinion. And I always say that the powers that be, as you may say, wanted it that way. They want people to not be able to freely express themselves and to control narratives and things of that nature, right? And again, create the division with political parties, because it's all a distraction. If they can get you to be on the left wing or the right wing, the far right, the far left, you're so divided fighting each other that you can't see that it's a war on classism. It's a war versus the elites and those that are poor, those that don't know. That's all the war is. It's not about political parties, because they're going to do what they're going to do anyways, but they just keep the masses distracted, and we don't even know the enemy that we're fighting. And I just wish a lot of these discussions, people could just see past through them, a lot of these things, and just focus on what truly matters. But I'm looking forward to some respectful comments in the comment section. You don't have to agree with everyone, just be respectful. Now let's get into this video. Today we are talking about the iconic Stacey Dash. Hater or lover, she is still an icon off of Clueless alone, but she has done so much other work. But over the years, Stacey Dash has faced so much backlash and hate, and has been named by many sources at one point of time as America's most hated woman. The Black community didn't want nothing to do with her. The white community didn't want nothing to do with her. And it just seemed like overall no one wanted anything to do with her. And it's like, how did that happen? We all love Stacey Dash. This documentary is going to start from the beginning, from her childhood all the way down to her untimely demise, with some of the comments that she stated. And of course, I will be as unbiased as possible. I hold no opinions. She is such a gorgeous and beautiful woman. As usual, before we get deep into the details of why she was America's most hated woman and the things that she's done, as usual, we are going to get into some beauty secrets and diet, as well as her hobbies, etc. So actress Stacey Dash says her secret to maintaining youthful skin is establishing good habits early on and sticking to them. I've been washing my face before I go to bed since I was 15, she tells people.com. As for her current skincare routine, Dash focuses on streamlining. I keep it very, very simple, she tells Latina.com. I do eye cream and sunscreen every day. Even if you got olive skin or brown skin, you still need sunscreen, she explains. And of course, nothing trumps a healthy lifestyle and a sound mind. I work out really hard 4 days a week. I eat healthy and I drink a lot of water, she tells people.com. And thinking young is key. Fear will age you. I enjoy life, says Dash. Her favorite color is black, and she loves Mexican food. Her hobbies include reading, fishing, theater, shopping, dancing, and artwork. And now with all of that said, let's jump into this video, okay? For many who are not too familiar with Stacey Dash, Stacey Loretta Dash was born January 20th, 1967. She is an American actress and former talk show host. Dash played Dionne Marie Davenport in the 1995 feature film Clueless and its television series of the same name, iconic movie. She has also appeared in the films Moving, Mo Money, Renaissance Man, and View from the Top. Other television work by Dash includes appearances in the series CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, Single Ladies, and the reality TV show Celebrity Circus. She has also appeared in music videos for Carl Thomas, Emotional, and of course Kanye West, all falls down. As far as her childhood goes, she had a pretty tragic childhood, guys, and this is triggering, so we are going to talk about some heavy topics, if you know what I mean, but I'll try to censor the words for YouTube. But if you're sensitive to those type of topics, if you catch my drift, this is your trigger warning right now. So born in the Bronx borough of New York City, Dash is an African-American and Mexican descent. She is the daughter of Dennis Dash and Linda Dash Lopez. Dash has a stepfather, Cecile Holmes, and a younger brother, Darian Dash, who is the founder of DME Interactive, the first publicly traded African-American-led website company. Her first cousin, fun fact, is Damon Dash, the one that was dating Aaliyah. Yes, the former CEO and co-founder of Rockefeller Records. Dash attended Paramus High School, graduating in 1985. Dash has spoken openly about past traumas in her personal life. She has at various times revealed that she was, taken advantage of physically, if you know what I mean, by a 16-year-old who knew her family starting at age 4, and she became addicted to Coca-Cola as a teenager, not the actual drink. It was shocking when the actress claimed that her parents introduced her to substances very young. According to her, her mother gave her Coca-Cola as a gift for her 16th birthday. And of course, you guys know what Coca-Cola is. I can't say it for YouTube. As a result of her early introduction to drugs, she became addicted, which had a significant effect on her childhood. For Stacy Dash, she has had to live with fighting and staying off substances. However, she said, she holds no grudges with her late parents. In an interview with Dr. Oz, she said, "In these 5 years, my greatest blessing is that only have I been able to be honest with myself and became a better person. I've been able to understand my parents and that they did love me and that they're doing the best they could and that they were just sick. They were addicted. Part of me felt like I deserved it because what I was coming from was no better," she said. "I didn't have an identity." Dash has attributed her openness with such topics to her desire to be honest with her children, feeling that being honest is the best way to protect them and to let them and others know that she is not a victim, but a survivor.
Stacey Dash opens up about her battle with addiction, past traumas, and her road to recovery.
I thought, you know what? I'm going to let people know what I've been through, tell the truth about my life.
On Thursday's episode of The Dr. Oz Show, the 54-year-old actress gets candid about her past, claiming that both her parents were addicts. Dash says she first tried drugs when she was 8 years old, and when she was 16, her mom gave her her first line of...
Both my parents were drugs. My father was an addict. My mother, I don't know if she did it. She smoked and did a lot of coke.
It's a topic the actress opened up to ET about back in 2016 while promoting her book, There Goes My Social Life, From Clueless to Conservative.
There are so many kids who, when they see their parents in that struggle, it's like that fork in the road. It either scares you straight or it leads you down the same path. And it led you down the same path.
For a little while. Yeah. Until I had my son.
Dash also says trauma in her life happened early, telling Dr. Oz she was when she was 4.
I didn't really remember until I was 17 when I tried to... It was at that time that I remembered that happened to me. And I had already been very angry. I was very angry. I became angry at, I'd say, around the age of 10 or 11, which is when my mother finally left my father. Even though my home was unstable and my father was an addict, I knew he loved me. He just couldn't beat it. He couldn't overcome the addiction.
Dash adds that she ran away from home and would party, and says she was in a relationship in her early 20s.
I mean, he would beat me so bad that I couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks. Couldn't walk.
What did those relationships teach you?
That I didn't value myself. That I need to value myself.
Later on, Dash got sober, but after 20 years clean, she says she relapsed when she was prescribed Vicodin to help with her painful fibroid cysts and became addicted.
I'm not blaming doctors at all because it was my choice to take more. It was my choice to take that extra one even though I wasn't in pain. I chose to do that because the Vicodin filled that hole inside of me. It filled that anger. It calmed that anger down. It slowed my brain down. It gave me the ease so that I could deal with life.
At one point, the Clueless star said she was taking 18 to 20 pills a day, but no one knew, adding that her addiction caused her to lose everything.
How much money were you spending on a month? Do you even know?
No, I'd say about 5 to 10 grand.
As for what stopped her,
I almost died. My kidneys were so infected that my blood was septic.
Oh.
And my organs were shutting down. So I got rushed to the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
And I had to have a full blood transfusion. And I was in there for 3 weeks, and by the grace and mercy of God, I lived.
After she left the hospital, the actress says she continued to abuse before entering a rehab facility.
It wasn't until the last 10 days that I finally said, oh, snap, I'm an addict.
Today, Dash is 5 years sober.
Greatest blessing is that not only have I been able to be honest with myself and become a better person, I've been able to understand my parents and that they did love me and that they were doing the best they could and they were just sick. They were addicted.
The former Fox News commentator now credits her faith for helping her get sober and hopes that by sharing her story, she can help people battling similar demons.
There is no shame in being an addict. There is no shame in getting help because that's what we need. And for people who are not addicts, I would ask them to please look at people with more compassion.
What is most important in your life right now? What is it that Stacy Dash wakes up every day and says, this is important to me?
Well, waking up every morning and asking God, what is your purpose for my life? What do you want me to do? Please show me and give me the grace to do it.
Is that a new wake-up call for you?
Absolutely.
That's not where you were 10, 20, 30 years ago?
No, it was not. Before I was in a place where, I believed in God, but it was my will run riot. I was not willing to give my life and my will over to the care of God. And that's what's changed. And stand. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And trust that you're standing up for your belief will be rewarded.
You grew up in a very rough neighborhood in South Bronx.
Yes.
That's hard enough itself.
Yeah. It was difficult. Both of my parents had drug problems, but I didn't know anything else. So I did every day the best that I could as a child. And I learned how to hustle. And I learned loyalty and integrity.
And you saw your first dead body while walking to preschool.
Yeah.
By yourself at 3 years old.
I wasn't alone. I was with the babysitter.
Okay.
And we were walking. And I looked over and there was a kid under a car. And he had a little afro. And I'll never forget it. His eyes were open. And I just remember looking in his eyes and realizing that he was gone.
Are your parents still living?
My mother just passed in November.
Really? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Before she expired, did you guys make up for all that stuff? Yeah, you forgave her?
Yes.
And did you tell her that?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was amazing. I'm so grateful because before that, we didn't have a relationship.
Yeah.
And I got to have my mommy back for 3 days before she passed.
How about your father? Did you forgive him as well?
He OD'd and died the day before my son was born. So I did get to speak to him, and I hadn't spoken to him for years.
Right.
And he called, and I got to say, I love you. He said he loved me. But for some reason, I never had any anger for him, or I didn't think I did, until later in life, until about 21 months ago. I realized, oh, I am angry with him.
Right.
Because he chose over me. But in reality, that's not the truth. He was sick.
He didn't just...
He had an addiction.
Yeah.
So I forgive him. I'm better than I've ever been because I've come to know the Lord. And I've surrendered.
Right.
I have finally surrendered. Now, that's not easy. I have to watch all the time and pray to God to help me all the time because I'm human.
I also read that you had to go live with a family who did not protect you and that you were set.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I was 4.
You were 4 years old. How old was the guy that was doing this?
He was a teenager.
Wow.
17. Yeah.
And when that started to happen to you, what went through your mind at 4 years old? Did you understand what was happening?
No, I didn't understand. I just knew it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And you feel shameful and, there was no understanding of it. But as you grow up, there's a shame.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I've had to realize that I didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, you thought that you had something to do with it?
Yeah,
really?
You do.
Even as an adult, knowing that you were 4 years old, you thought you had something to do with it?
It's not reasonable.
Right, I understand.
Right?
Yeah.
It comes from, it's something that unless you look at it, you don't even know it's there.
Right.
Propelling you and making you make choices that you would have never made had you looked at it and dealt with it. And realizing that all these things that have happened to me in the past have been making me make the choices of my life.
That's right.
I didn't tell.
And what were you afraid to?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't tell, but it was apparent. So, it was apparent and they just hid it.
Also, his mother knew about it?
Mm-hmm.
Father and mother?
Mm-hmm.
And they knew about it, but didn't say anything or do anything?
No.
How did you find that out?
Well, I knew. They let me know and basically told me don't say anything.
Wow.
And I couldn't because my parents were very young.
Yeah.
And, they couldn't keep me at the time. I didn't even speak English at that time. I spoke Spanish as my first language. They were Cuban. Yeah. So I would go home and talk to my mother because my grandparents didn't teach my mother Spanish. I would speak Spanish and she couldn't understand. She couldn't understand me. Forgiving yourself is the hardest thing to do.
And why?
I don't know. I wish I had an answer for that. But the only way to forgive yourself is to know Jesus and to know God and his forgiveness and his love.
Yeah.
And if he can forgive, who are you not to forgive yourself?
That's right.
Or forgive anyone else?
He doesn't hold anything against you.
Right.
She is supportive of the right to keep and bear arms, crediting the use of weapons with saving her life after being sensually taken advantage of at gunpoint by an ex-boyfriend because she was able to retrieve her own weapon, a .22 revolver, and shoot at him, scaring him away. She said her ex-boyfriend stalked her after they'd broken up and, forcefully put himself on her at gunpoint once while her young son was still sleeping nearby. He had the Glock to my head, and I thought, my son is in that crib right there, Dash said. I thought, no, you're not going to do this to me. My son's life was more important to me than my own. Dash told people that the next time her ex came back, she had her weapon on her and used it to get him out of her home. I wanted to end his life, she said, but it scared him away. Dash made her first television appearance in the NBC crime drama pilot Pharaoh for the People, starring Valerie Harper and Ed O'Neill in 1982, which did not make it past its pilot season. Her first notable appearance was as Michelle in the 1985 The Cosby Show episode Denise's Friends. Dash's first substantial television role was in the 1988 series TV 101. The series was canceled after 13 episodes, and Dash's first major film role was in the Richard Pryor comedy Moving in 1998. Dash received her big break with the 1995 teen comedy film Clueless. Dash played Cher's high school best friend Dionne Davenport, and although Dash was 28 at the time, she was 28 during that movie, she played a high schooler.
In 10 years, we'll be 27. Almost old enough to play high school kids on TV.
In 1996, the film spawned a television spin-off of the same name in which Dash reprised her role as Dionne. The series ran from 1996 to 1999. Dash posed bare in the August 2006 issue of Playboy. Also in 2006, she was featured in singer Marquise Houston's video for Favorite Girl and launched her own lingerie line called Letters of Marquis. Dash appeared as a recurring character in the television series The Game in the early 2009. And in 2011, Dash starred in her first season of VH1's first scripted series, Single Ladies, playing Valerie Val Stokes, described as a good girl looking for a good man. And on August 31st, 2011, it was reported that she would leave the series in order to focus on her family. And in 2012, Dash starred as Lisa, the female lead in the film Dysfunctional Friends. And in 2012, Dash was featured in Funny or Die and YouTube broadcast trailers and shorts for her web series Stacey Dash is Normal. The scripted series launched in 2013. Now, let's get into her scandals. Dash voted for Barack Obama in the 2008 U.S. presidential election. In 2012, she switched her party affiliation from Democratic to Republican and endorsed Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney. In response to critical online comments she received for supporting Romney, Dash stated it was her opinion and that she did not understand the vitriol. Vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan thanked Dash for supporting his ticket. Since the 2012 election, Stacey has publicly expressed her political views, and in April 2013, she criticized music artist Jay-Z and Beyonce's trip to Cuba. And in 2016, with regard to the debate over use of Pacific bathrooms, she said that transgender rights infringe upon her own rights. And Dash supported Republican candidate Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election. But this, of course, triggered many people who initially supported her. On May 28, 2014, Fox News announced that Dash had been hired as a contributor for cultural analysis and commentary. Basically a black face to speak on black issues. On the December 7, 2015 edition of Outnumbered, Dash made a remark about President Barack Obama's address regarding Islamic T-word. I can't say that word, but you guys get what I'm saying, the T-word. That took place the day before, suggesting the president didn't give a ish about terrorism. You guys know what I mean. Due to this remark, the network suspended her without pay for 2 weeks. And in 2016, Dash received criticism when she argued that the BET Awards lied to black people about news regarding the boycotting of the Oscars due to lack of ethnic diversity and called for an end to Black History Month. She made a cameo at the 88th Academy Awards, repeating this sentiment. In addition, she criticized Jesse Williams' speech at the BET Awards, and on January 21st, 2017, Fox News announced that Dash's contract would not be renewed. So from there, she went on to clarify that she meant no harm by her words that Black History Month and Black television networks were unnecessary. I'm saying we deserve more, she said. I just hope people understand that. I'm not judging, I'm coming from experience. So, of course, even white people, which I guess she thought they were her allies in her stance, were really like, wow, you're like going too far. You're saying a lot. And they kind of all disassociated themselves from her. Twitter had a field day with her. There were so many videos, even here on YouTube, with her comments. And it was just like every week she was doing and saying more and more that just seems so outlandish and like, you know, reading the room.
You go after folks in your book.
Yeah,
you don't hesitate.
No,
you call people
I
out.
don't.
You call out Lady Gaga.
Yep.
You feel like her anti-bullying campaign is a ruse for trying to promote her liberal agenda.
Yes.
You go, why do you think that?
Well, because it's true. It is. And that's what Hollywood does. Hollywood pushes a liberal agenda to the rest of the country. And whether we like it or not, Hollywood dictates the culture of the country.
But why don't you think her agenda is pure?
Because if it was, then it wouldn't have brought up all that other stuff. You know, all the other things that came in wouldn't have come into play. It would have just been, this is what I want to say, and this is it.
You also call out Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
But she's a conservative.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that, you know, she's saying she wants to go into the women's bathroom. She's a woman now. Go into the women's bathroom. But why? It's a tyranny by the minority. Why do I have to suffer because you can't decide what you want to be that day?
But is it a decision?
I would think so. It's your body. So it's your decision, right? We all make choices.
I guess a lot of people in the transgender community would then say, it is who I am, and I don't choose to be one way or another. It's who I am.
Okay, then go to the bushes. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not going to put my child's life at risk because you want to change a law so that you can be comfortable with your beliefs, which means I have to change my beliefs and my rights. No.
Well, isn't this a world, though, of compromise? I mean, how do we get to a place of moving forward if all of us don't
compromise until it starts to infringe upon my rights too much? Then no.
It's a Stacy Dash versus BET, round 3.
If we don't want segregation, then we need to get rid of channels like BET and the BET Awards.
Stacey made those comments on Fox News this week when asked about Black actors boycotting this year's Oscars. And BET quickly fired back with this tweet, asking the actress to return her check from her work on the network sitcom The Game.
Well, you get an A for effort.
BET also posted a gallery to its website called Every Time Stacey Dash Proved She Was Clueless.
I'm not trying to hear that.
Well, now Stacey's firing back at BET, writing a takedown of the network on her Pathos blog. Quote, BET lies to American Black people by telling them that the rest of America, so stick close to your own kind. Anything that promotes segregation is bad. Stacey added that the network is scared of her, quote, an independent thinking Black woman who dares call their bluff. Stacey Dash speaks out on this year's Oscars boycott.
So let's do us. Do me.
Jada Pinkett Smith is spearheading the protest, saying she's taking a stand against the lack of diversity in this year's nominations. But Stacey doesn't agree, delivering this kind of surprising response to the boycott on Fox and Friends Wednesday morning.
Either we want to have segregation or integration. And if we don't want segregation, then we need to get rid of channels like BET and the BET Awards and the Image Awards, where you're only awarded if you're Black. If it were the other way around, we would be up in arms. It's a double standard. Just like there shouldn't be a Black History Month. You know, we're Americans, period. That's it. What I find astounding is that we've had a president who is Black in office for the past 8 years, who gets most of his funding from the liberal elite in Hollywood. Yet there are not very many roles for people of color. How can that be? And why is it just now being addressed?
Now, this does beg a question that I want you guys to discuss in the comments. Please be respectful in that regards, but I'm really curious. Do you think that when you're a celebrity, controversial views should always be kept silent? Or should you be able to speak out what you feel, even if none of us agree with it or understand it? Say what you want to say, because you think it regardless in private. But I also understand that when you are a public figure and you're influential and you have people that look up to you, there's a certain responsibility that comes with that. And there are words that you say that can not just trigger people, but also trigger people to act, encourage or give life to certain ideologies in people that probably was dormant before. And that increases what they do. Like we've seen throughout the last couple, 2-3 years, what has been going on, especially from ideologies that people have been at home, listening to more podcasts, watching more videos, and we see how people react based on those ideologies and talking points and opinions. And it kind of just creates this very toxic world. But it came to the point where people could no longer give their opinion. And we saw even on social media sites like Instagram, it's getting pretty interesting to see how if you don't agree with one narrative, they do kind of just, break you down. But on Stacey Dash's case, and you do have to be responsible with how you say things, but it does also lead on to that greater question. Do you find yourself not supporting people that don't agree with you 1,000%? That's the question I want to ask. Do you find yourself canceling people who don't vote politically like you vote, or who don't have the same cultural understanding or opinions as yourself? Do you find yourself distancing yourself from them, and why? And then I do kind of see where I think she was trolling, guys. That's my opinion. I do think she was trolling to kind of, celebrities get very obsessed and high off of attention, and they get high off of trending, whether good or bad. A lot of people think the more hate they throw towards a celebrity, oh my God, I know I'm getting to them and I'm hurting them, while the celebrity is doing more for you to fuel that hate because it brings more money in their pockets. She was getting gigs, she was trending every week, and she seemed to have loved it, in my opinion. So I do think she was trolling and saying things intentionally, but there were things that she said that I do think the public, because they already hated her, were like inflating. With that said, we're going to move on, okay? Because on February 26, 2018, Dash filed to run in California's 44th congressional district in the 2018 congressional election as a Republican. On joining the race, Dash said she wanted to free people from the shackles of a plantation mentality. Dash withdrew from the congressional race on March 30th, 2018. And on March 11, 2021, Dash stated in an interview with Daily Mail, "Being a supporter of Trump has put me in some kind of box that I don't belong in, but he's not the president. I'm going to give the president that we have right now a chance." Now, as far as her personal life, she has been married quite a few times. Dash has 2 children. She has a son named Austin, born from her relationship with singer Christopher Williams. And this is sad, but she stated, "When I got pregnant, I was doing a lot of substance and I didn't want to live. I wanted to die," she said. "I was going to have an abortion to remove the child. I was crying and I said to God, please tell me what to do. And God told me, keep your son. I whipped the IV out of my arm and said, I'm keeping my son." This beautiful moment was short-lived for the actress, as she said her ex then tracked her down. He held her. He was the one that basically slept with her while her son was there, and then she fired at him. That was him, okay? Christopher Williams, let's talk. So she did go on to marry producer Brian Lavelle on July 16, 1999, and they divorced in the mid-2000s. And from 2005 to 2006, Dash was married to British executive James Mabey, CEO of Sports Logistics. Different sources say the father of Dash's daughter Lola is either Lavelle or Mabey. Dash married lawyer Jeffrey Marty on April 6, 2018 in Florida, and she said that she met Marty 10 days before the wedding. In addition to her 2 children, Dash's stepmother to 3 of Marty's children, right? Dash was arrested on September 29, 2019 at her apartment in Pasco County, Florida on a domestic charge after an argument with her husband, Jeffrey Marty. She pleaded not guilty, and the case was dropped October 3rd at the request of Marty, who said Dash had been arrested over his objection. The couple's divorce was announced the following year. In October 2021, Dash opened up about her Vicodin addiction on the Dr. Oz show, stating that she was 5 years sober. Even though Stacey mentioned that she's been sober for a couple of years now, the Black community still hasn't forgiven her for her comments, despite her coming out to say she has moved on from the angry woman that the world knew her to be. She's still not forgiven, and anytime you say Stacey Dash, everybody kind of look like, ooh, no, next. So that's pretty sad in itself for her. So I don't know if her career is redeemable, maybe in 5-10 years, but there's things you do that are redeemable, and there's things you say that just are not, and it just follows you. That's why I always tell celebrities, When you're trying to be canceled for engagement and for revenue and things, be careful that you don't overdo it. You can make yourself irredeemable, and those things can follow you and your legacy. So sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. Comment, subscribe, engage with this video if you like the music you're listening to. All links are in the description, as well as my socials. And turn on your notification bell for our next person, which will be coming up soon, which was heavily requested. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.